Welcome back, participants. We will now move on to our forum, The Law of Entrepreneurship and Venture, moderated by Tham Lih Chung, to introduce you to the world of venture capital. Let us invite our panel of speakers, Sofea, Ghani, Victor Chua, and Yeoh Chinchou to the stage. Please take note, our speakers are speaking as an individuals. They do not represent any organization. Hence, they accept no responsibility for any loss arising from any action taken or non-taken by anyone using this material. Without further ado, I'll now pass the session to Tham to moderate this session.
Thank you so much, Queenie. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tham. I'm the Executive Chairman of Ecosys. I'm a CFA charter holder. So as a chairman, I run a retail technology and financial technology group in Malaysia. I'm very glad that I have three respected panelists with us today. We have Victor from Win Capital, Chinchou from Faith, and Sofea from Funnel, right? Just to give you a brief introduction about Victor. Victor is the managing partner and founder of Win Capital, which is a Southeast Asia-based VC firm. And one of the most successful deals that he has done is Custom, right? And I would like to congratulate Victor for making Custom one of the Malaysia's first unicorn, okay? And we have Chen Chow, who's the COO and co-founder of Faith. Faith is a Southeast Asia leading loyalty management and fintech market leader. And congratulations, Chen Chow, for your deal with Pine Labs. And lastly, we have Sofea, who's currently an investment associate with Funnel, which is Southeast Asia's largest private capital market player. And prior to joining Funnel, she was a venture capitalist with Captive Ventures and also with Securities Commission as a regulator as well. Let's give them a warm applause to all our three distinguished guests. Okay, so today is more a sharing with our guests about what you have gone through, and so that we can have some key takeaway from today's sharing. So I would like to know what has been your motivation and your purpose in life, okay? And why are you doing what you are doing today? So let me just start with Chen Chow. So Chen Chow, why did you co-found Faith and build it to one of the most successful loyalty management and fintech firm today? Chen Chow? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, okay. Let's unmute, okay? Yes. Chinchou, do you need me to repeat my question? Okay, I think Chinchou has some technical issue there. Let's start with Victor first while Chinchou is solving his technical glitch on the other side. So Victor, so when you founded Win Capital, right, okay, so what motivated you to do that? And why, okay, which has invested in Casa and among other startups, so what motivated you to found Win Capital, and why do you invest in all these kind of startups?
Thank you, Society, for having us here today. To go back to Tom, your question on motivation, I guess it depends on, it's very different across individuals, but for me, back when I first started Vin, it was partly because I didn't know enough. So you don't know the risks. And when you jump out from a big company to start something, if you feel like, oh gosh, this is exciting, this is scary, it gives you the adrenaline rush. So that's probably the reason why I actually did it, because I love the adrenaline rush. And that also relates to the reason why we invest into what is early stage companies or startups or whatever you define them. It's because you see a lot of energy. You feel that all of the entrepreneurs that we talk to, we invest and we back them because they want to make a difference. And I think that serves as the biggest motivation for me to do what I do. You get infected. The more you speak to entrepreneurs, the more you feel infected by that energy level, and that keeps you going. So that's really my motivation.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Victor. And Sofea, after graduating with a degree in actuarial science and also in financial mathematics, I remember you began your career as a regulator with SC. Then you move on to be a venture capitalist with Captive Ventures as well, and now you're with Funnel. Okay, so what has influenced your decisions along the way? Is you're moving from one sphere to another. It's very different, okay, from what you started at the beginning. So why do you move? Do you take those moves?
Thank you, Tham. Hi, everyone, and happy to be here. So, as for me, on your question, my goal was always to contribute meaningfully and support nation building. That was always the goal. I reflected on my interests and strengths and realized that I was deeply interested in finance and mathematics. So that's why I first pursued at those subjects in my degree at University of Malaya. So during my university days, other than having my nose in the books, I immersed myself in various social entrepreneurship programs, founded a gift delivery service called Cheer Parcel, and had a talent for binge watching Shark Tank. All this strengthened my interests and so in business and also entrepreneurship. So with nation building as my primary pursuit, I began my career with SC, Securities Commission Malaysia, a statutory body entrusted with the responsibility to regulate and develop the Malaysian capital market. So SC provided me with the unique experience of being part of 4 different departments. I contributed to risk analysis, fintech policy making, investigation of capital market cases, and supervision of investment banks. So these were all important in facilitating digital innovation, creating avenues for alternative investing, and also investor protection. So these experiences were enriching, and I became very interested in them. As I explored further, I found that I was interested in access to fundraising as well. So I wanted to contribute more to nation building, but I knew that I needed industry experience to gain valuable perspectives. So this is when I embarked on my first adventure with Captive Ventures. So Captive Ventures is a multi-stage venture capital firm based in Malaysia, where I was responsible in engaging, assessing, and also monitoring early stage technology companies across ASEAN. An opportunity then came to enhance my soft skills, leadership skills, and take on a role with expanded responsibility with Funnel. So where I now contribute more on the ECF space, equity crowdfunding space. So my work in Funnel includes working with Malaysian founders on their fundraising plans, engaging with investors, as well as finding new ways to improve internal processes to serve both our fundraiser clients as well as investors better. So I can say that each move in my career so far was motivated by the fact that I wanted to learn and contribute more. So as long as I know I'm still making an impact, that keeps me going.
Right. Okay. But how do you feel right now? You have crossed the fence to the other side, right? Okay. Before that, you were regulating, and now, okay, you're being regulated.
Yeah, very interesting experience.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Really.
So we have Chou back with us right now. Say hi, Chou, just to make sure that you're all right.
Me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you clearly. Yeah, good to have you back, Chen Chow. Okay, so we'd like to know, why did you found Faith, and what motivated you to build to where it is today?
Yeah. In terms of faith,
Chen Chow, you are unmute. You have to unmute. Yeah. Okay. Could we speak louder? Okay. So while waiting for Chen Chow, okay, to solve his technical issue over the other side, okay. For all those audience out there, if you have any questions, do feel free to post in the Q&A section so we can pick it up along this journey, and we can feel free to ask any question that you have for Sofea, Victor, and Chen Chow. Okay. So I have another question for Victor. Okay. So Victor, I believe that among all these startups that you have invested, right? Okay, there must be one that has in a way made a huge impact in your life, okay, and which drives you even further, okay, why you want to contribute to the startup scenes. Because if I remember vividly that you're also awarded as Forbes under 30 as well by contributing to the startup ecosystem in Southeast Asia, right? Okay, there must be something that you have done that has given you that urge to do even more.
Yeah, I think maybe two parts of the question. First part is which company that I've invested that gave me the motivation to do more. I think at this point of time, I would have to say, Carson is definitely one of my best investment decisions. Obviously, because not just because they are what they are right now, being a large company with I can't remember, I really lost count of how many employees they have, but they're in 4 countries: Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. And the fact that they managed to attract so much capital coming from international markets, whether it's sovereign wealth funds or large institutions, or even high net worth or super high net worths to actually back them up. So that definitely gave me a pretty good insight of how much an entrepreneur in Malaysia, how much two. I mean, because Custom is started by two co-founders, Eric and JT. So it kind of provides me a signal that even entrepreneurs from a small market like Malaysia with maybe about 32 million population, even local entrepreneurs in Malaysia could actually achieve such great heights. And I think that gave me the thought around uh, trying to do more to empower more young folks. Obviously, back then we were all young. When I first know Eric and JT, and I was still with MathCap, and that was like 5 years ago, 5 6 years ago, and we have come a long journey to get to where they are right now. We have seen and witnessed how much they've achieved, and that gives me hope that it doesn't matter if you're not from Indonesia. It doesn't matter if you're not from Singapore. As long as you're doing the right thing, as long as you're thinking big enough, as long as you know that you lack of certain elements, you go out there and hunt. So the hunter behavior, it's something that's like a key takeaway for me as a VC. And I think the second part of your question is around I guess if I may interpret it indirectly, what sort of things do I see in the region that makes me want to do more?
Yeah.
Essentially, it's the long term prospect of Southeast Asia. Looking at us comparing ourselves to the more developed markets, like US, like China and Japan. The good thing about being less developed is that you know what to expect. You see what other countries have gone into. It's just like, for example, if you're a graduate from university, now you're trying to do your CFA. What sort of career path do you have? You have different examples to look at. By looking at those examples, you can project where you want to head to in the future. And that's where you start to tweak your journey according to what you think you're capable of. So I think in that sense, so if you're blessed, especially during this period of time. I mean, not blessed in a way where COVID number is still high, but we're fortunate in a way where we have seen how other markets has struggled, and because I look at COVID, I look at pandemic as a reset button, a reset so that all of us are now on a level playing field. Doesn't matter whether you're from a rich background or poor background, pandemic doesn't discriminate. And that means there's a lot more opportunities for young entrepreneurs, for young people, or for young financial analysts, whoever you are, to go out there to make a difference, to go out there to do something different, because we're in an environment that no one actually knows what's going to happen even tomorrow. Who knows? Suddenly tomorrow, COVID might go away, and then things would be different. But we all are embracing the changes, and I think entrepreneurs are probably the group of people who can embrace changes much better than anyone else. Hence, that's why that's what I see in the region.
Well, I have to agree with you, Victor. Okay, I think that our Southeast Asian region has always been underestimated. There are a lot of underdogs out there which has successfully turned themselves into great entrepreneurs, and I think hugely these are also supported by venture capital firms like yours. So I have two interesting questions over here that I would like to direct to Victor. One is, does venture capitals offer internship? And if yes, what kind of skills that you're looking for?
Sure. For VCs, I think Sofia could also attest, because Sofia came from Capti, and I think generally speaking, if you talk about VC, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, in Malaysia, we were quite small. The industry in general is small. So there wasn't much of an opportunity. But at this point of time, there's a lot of platforms out there that's offering opportunities, and obviously partly because of the fact that we have Penjana Capital that has invested into a few new VCs. So there's more VC firms on the ground. Hence, there's a lot more opportunities for CFA charter holders to go and be an analyst, or do an internship. Not just that, even international VCs, Singapore VCs, or Indonesian VCs, a lot of them are also looking at Malaysia as a hunting ground. So, especially after companies like Harsam, a few of the other Malaysian companies, even obviously Fave, and Grab, etc. So a lot of VCs are also trying to set up their footprint over here, and that's why it's not as difficult as how it used to be a part of a VC firm. In terms of skill sets, personally speaking, I can't speak on behalf of other VC firms, but for me, I love diversity in a company. Diversity not just in the sense of gender equality, not just in the sense of racial equality or whatever it is, but it is more about having a skill set diversity. It doesn't matter what background you are. If you are a philosophy or graduate, fantastic. You could jump in to join as well. If you are a finance student, fantastic, because you have the right skill sets to look at certain aspect of the business. But if you have even the weirdest degrees or whatever it is, yeah, it still works, because what we appreciate is the whole roundedness of any individual. Personally, I did actuarial science like Sofia as well from undergrad. I thought I would join an insurance company. I thought I would join an investment bank, but end up, this is where I am right now, and this is not something that I could have predicted. So I think, yes, in short, anyone could join a VC as long as you have the right attitude and you could embrace change.
Right. Okay. I like your answer, Victor. Okay. Embrace diversity. Okay. Anyone can join VC. So here you go, guys. Okay. This is the answer. Chinchou. Okay. Glad to have you back. Can you say hi?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. Okay. Finally, you're back. Please unmute.
Good.
Yes. Okay. So please share with us your story.
Yeah, so I think for myself, I came from a background. I started in consulting, so I was in Accenture, then went to Job Street. So Job Street at that time was already pretty big at that time, and then I joined Joel Dell after Joel and Kylie sold Group Small to Groupon. So I was an employee there, and then we built up, got a chance to work on regional. And I think 2015, the moment came where we're like, okay, you only live one YOLO moment, so decided to quit and drop everything and went on startup. So to be honest, I think Joel was a typical entrepreneur that has built on to it. I'm sort of coincidental and went on it, and I think it's pretty scary to drop everything and then just go on it. But I think there's never a perfect time, so I think just go on it. And we were very lucky that we got a bunch of VCs, angel investors supporting along the way, and then build it through. Go through a lot of ups and downs, especially a lot of downs, right? A lot of tough moments and go through. And I think a lot of it is, I think it's a learning journey. I think reflect back 10 years ago when Joe told me that joining him in this journey, he said, I can't promise you anything, but I can promise you a good, exciting learning journey. So I think that's sort of how I see it. And I think Victor has gone through support a lot of startups. I think Sofia as well, right? and Tham as well. So I think they all have gone through that. So I think from entrepreneurs, a lot of times is I think the journey to work through, and then we got a chance to work with all these super smart investors and leveraging on each part and then building on it. So I think that if that's what it is, I think for many of you, this could be an interesting journey.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Chinchou, for sharing. So there's one thing that I would like to ask three of you. The digital ecosystem landscape, it has changed drastically, which has made it one of the most sought after industry to work in. And VC on the sideline has also been a beneficiary of this trend. And we have also witnessed a lot of unicorns being created as well. So, Chinchou, I believe that you personally have dealt with a lot of VCs, right? Okay, you are an entrepreneur right now. Okay, you have built Faith to a stage whereby I would say it's one of the most amazing companies in Southeast Asia. So, what would you have? Would you have thought of going to VC? Okay, just like what Sofea has done. From a regulator, she went over. Now she go over to the other side as a VC, and then now with equity crowdfunding. Will you do that? Now as an entrepreneur, will you start your own VC firm in the future? Right. Okay. With the experience that you have garnered for so many years running as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the answer today. I think today is still in the startup side. But I think personally, I am an angel investor. So I've done about 20 investments in the last few years. So I did small investment, and from that perspective as well, a lot of the deals got followed on by VC. So dealing with that, and of course within Faith, dealing with quite a lot of VCs along the journey. So I think that personally, I think one is the sourcing of the deals, and then going through the journey with the founders, right? So I think that's, as an angel investor, I went through that. So I think in terms of that, yes, but of course, as a VC, you also need to raise fund from people, so to then fund it forward. So I haven't done that piece. I'm not sure. I think everything is a possibility, and I think a lot of times life we don't know enough, right? So I think a lot of going with it and do what you enjoy doing. Life is short, so and I think definitely there are definitely pieces of that is very exciting. I know that, let's say Kylie has asked me before, right? One day, will you do it? He asked me this exact same question. When you retire next time, will you do it? Right? I never know, but I think that's definitely a possibility. I think we'll see how it goes on that day.
Okay, it seems like you're already on the path of doing that since right now you're quite active in angel investing, right? Okay, and I'm sure that a lot of startups would like to have you to come on board as their mentor, right? And Victor, you have you have invested in amazing companies, okay, and I'm sure that you have also helped them along the way as well, especially like Kazem. So, same question: would you have gone to the other side of the world, right? Okay, being an entrepreneur yourself, okay, you know all the tricks, how to raise funds, what the VC wants, right? Okay, so even if you start your own business, I think you're halfway there, or the success rate is definitely higher. So will you do that?
Maybe the success rate is higher, but of course, maybe I'm more equipped right now. But I think just like Chen Chow, I don't know yet. I mean, because at this point of time, I do look at myself as a founder, as an entrepreneur as well. Because the biggest difference between Vin and Faith is the business model, is the industry that we're in. Technically speaking, Vin Capital is also a startup. We started from nothing. We started from just me and my partner, and then we have to build from scratch. We have to look for capital. We have to start, looking for deals. Basically, we have to look for our products as well to eventually sell it to our customers, which is our investors, which are our limited partners or LPs. So technically speaking, I am running as an entrepreneur already. But of course, if you're asking me whether I would love to go and start a tech company in the future, I wouldn't say no. That is always part of my I guess interest, because a lot of people don't know. Before I started Vin, before I joined the VC industry, at one point of time, I actually had a short stint, about 1.5 years of doing my own so-called tech company. That was 2010, 2011. It was not too long after I graduated from university, but wrong timing, wrong market. It was too early, and so I had to shut it down after 1.5 years. So I would say that I can tell people that I've done that. I've gone through that. Just that there were lessons learned, and that's what they say lah. Sometimes if you fail to be an entrepreneur, you become a VC. So that's where I am right now. But If your question is about whether I'll go back again to run some sort of company on my own, I mean, who knows in the future when I'm maybe much older, then if I'm trying to find things that excite me, if VC is big, if Vin is on autopilot mode where I'm not needed anymore, then who knows, I might join Chinchou to start a company as well. You never know. I mean, I wouldn't want to say no to opportunities, especially if it's a chance to work with smart people.
Well, okay, then please let me know when you're joining Chinchou, because I would like to jump into the bandwagon as well.
Sure.
And Sofea, right? Okay, so this is a tough one. Regulator first, venture capital next, equity crowdfunding. What will be next? Will you start your own tech company as an entrepreneur, right? I know that you have done it before, right? Okay, so please share with us, what do you have in mind?
Okay, so Tham, what's next for me, and I think this can happen even within my role now, is I hope to encourage more companies to look beyond traditional products and services. So what do I mean here by traditional? Just to give you some examples, give the audience some examples as well. So today, with the pandemic, right, we see a lot of people have resulted to cooking at home. But let me ask you, what affordable products are we developing today in ensuring used cooking oil can be disposed of safely? Or another example, with so many children deprived of an education due to limited resources, how can we provide a tech-enabled platform which can run even with limited internet connectivity? So something to think about, right? So I feel that within the VCPE space, we all talk about wanting to support efforts towards achieving the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, be it green tech or education. But the real question is, do we have enough of these companies to support, especially in Malaysia? So my hope is for more Malaysian entrepreneurs to step up to this challenge. So ask yourself, how does my business basically solve an issue within society or the environment to provide impactful change? I would also encourage the audience to read Muhammad Yunus's book, A World of Three Zeros, where he speaks about how an impact strategy and financially sound business model must go hand in hand. So I myself am still in the process of learning, I must say. But I believe we must start amplifying our efforts now more than ever. And as an ECF operator, we have seen impact-driven companies come up to us, but the volume, I feel, is not nearly enough yet to move the needle in the ecosystem today. So I'm excited to meet more Malaysian entrepreneurs going down this road less taken, I would say. So please do contact me for a chat, and together we can see how we can support your fundraising plans as well.
Wow, it seems like your next phase is, since you're so passionate about building an ESG company, I'm sure that you're looking forward to building your own tech company, right, to solve that problem, right?
I hope so one day. We'll see. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Sofea. Okay. So, well, I'll proceed to another questions, right? Okay, I have one question from the audience here, which this one I would like to pick the brains of three of you, right? It's something which has just recently happened in China, okay, with the recent CCP crackdown on their domestic tech sector. What are some of your thoughts on the sentiments surrounding edutech, fintech, and health tech in ASEAN? Right. Okay. Yeah, because some authority has been cracking down on all this tech sector, right? Okay, Alibaba was affected, Tencent affected. Okay, we have seen some of the tech stocks share price has plummeted as well because of all this. So, what do you think? Will this happen in ASEAN? And how does it affect the sentiments, okay, around this fintech and health tech in ASEAN as well, right? Do feel free to share whenever you are ready, right? Okay, so can I get maybe Sofea to start first?
Not too familiar actually for this question.
Right. Okay.
Maybe Victor and Chinchou.
Okay. Let me give you some time to think about it. Victor, are you ready?
Yeah, sure. I think in general, it's very difficult to really predict what government would do, what regulators would do, given that obviously it really depends on the sentiment of the administration. But for us, whenever we look at an investment, when we look at the business, we always try to take into account of the regulatory risks or of the political risks as well, just to make sure that this is not something that's beyond our expectation. Whatever it is, that's happening in China, somewhat I think investors or VCs would have been taking that into account, because knowing the local market well enough, knowing China enough, you definitely want to make sure that companies are able to comply to what the Chinese government is going after. I mean, the goal presidency, he wants to. I mean, Chinese trooping, he wants to eradicate poverty, and in order to do that, there's definitely a lot of major reforms that the administration would have to implement in order for that vision to happen. So I'm sure the VCs, the investors in China, even the startups in China, would have expected some level of changes to happen. And the same goes with companies or businesses in Southeast Asia. To a certain extent, we are all at the mercy of the administrators who are in power. And most likely than not, you can't change anything. The most you could do, which is what we are doing at our end as well, is to work closely with regulators to be as compliant, to be as open and transparent with people who might not work with us directly, but who is involved with the development of the industry. So in other words, it never hurts to be a compliant company. It never hurts to be run properly, and it never hurts to be a principled entrepreneur, to do things the right way, and to constantly share with the folks who are regulating you, so that they know what's happening. One of the issues that regulators always have is that people are so scared of them that any industry players would avoid talking to regulators. What that ends up is regulators not having enough or not having sufficient understanding of what's happening in the real market, and that means whatever policy, whatever restrictions that they put out there is not going to be relevant for the actual business practices. So I think rather than running away from regulators or government, yeah, we should go and talk to them, provide as much awareness as possible, share as much as possible so that they know what to do in order to grow industry. A regulator or a government's job is not just to restrict, but also to provide the seeds, the elements for you to grow from the country. So I think there's no harm. I don't think there's any government who wants to screw up the people, unless I don't know. I mean, unless we are living in a fiction world. Otherwise, in most cases, if it's really a properly run government, yes, you would expect certain level of interference or intervention, but not in the name of for fun. They're doing it for a reason. So for investors like us, I think we take a proactive way of, besides informing them, to also help our companies to expand, to diversify our exposure, to make sure that the businesses that we have are not just relying on one particular country or one particular market or whatever it is, so that we can survive no matter what happens.
Right. So Victor, can I say that you think Southeast Asia, we do really have a very supportive government supporting the growth of the digital ecosystem, right? Okay. So instead of seeing that they will crack down on this, but instead of doing that, they will keep growing the digital space so that there will be more and more successful startups, right? Okay. Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. In general, everyone wants to develop their own startup ecosystem because it means FDI. It means more money coming in. It means that you are training your workforce to be smarter and to be better. So why would any government wants to say no to that? It doesn't make sense unless you want to stay poor forever, and unless you want to be a developing country forever. No sane government will want to do that. It's a matter of how integrated the ecosystem is between the public and the private sector. It's always two ways. It doesn't work if you have one single flow communication. It has to be a two-way communication.
Right. Thank you so much for your comment. Chanchas, do you have anything to add? Okay, based on I believe you also have dealt with the authorities and regulators as well, right? Okay. So do you feel the same way as Victor?
It's me, please.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're on.
Can you hear
Yes,
me, right?
Chinchou. Yes, we can hear you now. All right.
The chat, and I think I think a lot of time when we
Right. Okay. I think Chinchou right now is facing some technical issue again. Okay. So let's give it some time to sort it out. Right. Okay. So but I have picked up some very interesting question here. That's I would like to direct to Sofea and Victor again. Right. Okay. We're waiting for Chinchou. So I think all of you have started business before. Even like Victor, you mentioned that the VC firm that you are doing right now is also a business as well, right? Okay. There's this question. We always heard that if you want to become wealthy and retire early, you got to become entrepreneur for that. What is your view? Do you think so? In order to retire early, you have to be an entrepreneur, right? So, Victor, you go first.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, if I don't think retirement is an option for entrepreneurs. Generally speaking, entrepreneurs, they don't retire. It doesn't matter how old you are. You continue to do things you like, not because you need to do it, but because you have the luxury to choose what you want to do or what you intend to do. So I think, yeah, retirement and entrepreneur is just doesn't go hand in hand. But if you're talking about financial independence, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, if you're being an entrepreneur, obviously, if you're successful, then you could be financially independent much earlier. But I think somehow, if it sounds cliche, but I am of the school of thought to that things, if you're chasing after money, you probably wouldn't get the money, and that's because you're losing the long term vision. It's just like sometimes people talk about listed companies having less growth potential than private companies, because listed companies have to chase quarter after quarter on their quarterly earnings. They have to show good numbers, blah blah blah. But that means that you're not investing for the future. So in essence, I think as long as you're chasing after a long term vision, long term ambition that makes a lot of sense, then yeah, you could get rich. But of course, there's different definition for different people in terms of what is rich and what is financial independence.
Okay. How about you, Sofea? What do you think?
I think having being wealthy as your main goal won't really get you far. I think you should have a bigger vision, a bigger purpose as to why you're doing it. So yeah, that's what I think. So not necessarily you want to become, you say you want to become an entrepreneur because I want to be wealthy, because I think entrepreneurship is a high risk, high reward kind of profession as well. It can go either way.
Right. And Chinchou, do you agree? Okay, entrepreneurship is not about retirement. It's not about being wealthy, being rich, right? Okay. So my dear friend Victor and Sofea are breaking the bad news to all our audience here. Okay. Even to be rich and wealthy, don't be an entrepreneur. Chinchou, what do you think?
Yeah, yeah, there are a lot easier way, right, to be rich, right? So I think that entrepreneurship definitely is not that way, and I think Mark Chang, Job Street founder, he was talking about it back then, 1995, when he started the company. He thought that he can drink coffee anytime when he built his startup. He got it 19 years later, and people said overnight success, right? So it take a long time, and I think that especially during, let's say, like COVID lockdown or whatever. Last year I was on zero salary for quite a lot of months and everything, right? So definitely not the best way to get rich, but I think you get fulfilling, right? Experience, going through, learning. So I'd say if you want money, go far away from entrepreneurship. The probability of making a big
Okay. That's a very wise advice from three of our guests, right? Which bring me to the next questions, right? Okay. So what kind of professional qualification do we need to possess, okay, in order to be what you are doing right now, to be in venture capital, to be in equity crowdfunding, and or maybe even to start a business, right? Okay, does getting a chartered financial analyst, being a CFA charter holder helps, okay, or attending CFA course, does it help, okay, to bring you where you are today? Okay, Chinchou, we'd like to start with that. Does it help?
Okay, yeah. So I tried CFA. I failed level 3 twice, never completed. That's why you look at all the speaker and moderator and panelists, all of them have a CFA. I don't have it. Yeah, I tried. I couldn't make through. But I think that definitely is a very good learning, right? I think it's where I learned through that. So I passed through level 1, level 2. So, and basic information. I think a lot of it is critical thinking, looking at how you look at money, how to look at different ways of investments. I still have all those CFA books back home. So it's like maybe one day when I'm free enough, I'll go back and try again. And then hopefully that time I can pass through. I don't know whether I need to start back on level 1 or I can continue on level 3. But yeah, so I think all of you that were on this journey is definitely known as one of the toughest toughest exams. But I think that the experience will be good, and all the best.
Well, okay. So it doesn't matter. So if I get it correctly from Chen Chow, it doesn't matter whether you pass or not. The most important thing is what you have learned throughout the whole journey. Am I right? Okay. So I guess the attitude of learning is more important than getting the end results. Am I right? Okay. And that's in a way, yes, it does have helped you to shape who you are today, right? Am I right to say that, Chen Chow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
definitely.
Okay.
Agreed.
So for Victor, what do you think? Because I'll have another question for you. Okay, after you share with us your thoughts, Victor.
I think like what Chen Chow mentioned, is the learning that you get out of something that out of CFA. At the end of the day, if your interest is in finance, yes, CFA definitely help. If you are interested to be an entrepreneur, having CFA as a domain knowledge definitely helps, because at the end of the day you need to know about the dollars and cents. You need to know about the general economics. You need to know about accounts and everything. So in short, it never hurts to have more knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the better it is. And if CFA can provide you with that additional knowledge that you don't have, fantastic. And if CFA can strengthen the knowledge that you already have, even better. So I think in general, I would encourage more people to look at CFA more seriously, to look at knowledge more seriously, because you never know when you need something, or you don't want to be learning something when you need it. You want to be able to possess that knowledge or skill set even before you actually need it. And as with any company, as with any startup, you're never the only one in the firm. If you're only doing everything on your own, then you're not scaling, which means you're not going to be able to grow as quickly as you want. So having a particular domain expertise, if you are good in finance, go look for someone who's good in tech. Look for someone who's good in operations. Find your own co-founding team together to build something, together, and you can come in as the financial guy. Because at the end of the day, if you're raising funds, you need to have the financial experience or the knowledge. So I think in general, obviously, this is partly this is because this is a CFA event. I wouldn't say bad things for CFA, and I have nothing bad. Bad things. I have no bad comments about CFA. Overall, my journey has been great because I have the knowledge that I got from my CFA exams. Even though it was torturous to take the exams, but yeah, it was fun to cram so many pages of textbooks into my brain.
Right. What do you think, Sofea?
Yeah, so for me, I feel that okay, so CFA charter is one of the highest distinctions in the investment management profession, and that in itself speaks volumes, and it will provide you the recognition and attention from an investment-related employer here in Malaysia and as well as globally. So I feel that the charter is a testament of your perseverance, like Victor mentioned, right? There's a lot of cramming involved. It's a challenge. It's a challenge in itself. So it also shows your commitment to better yourself, shows your credibility, proves that you are serious in the finance profession. Because I hardly think anyone would go through all that blood, sweat, and tears for fun. So the CFA syllabus is very broad. It gives you a comprehensive overview as well as depth to what you need to know in the finance industry. Specifically in the VC PE space, I found subjects on the investment instruments, stocks, bonds, financial analysis, and valuation techniques to be most useful. However, a CFA charter can get you here but may not get you there. So a lot of the stuff you need to know happens on the job and requires tenacity and proactiveness. You can relate whatever you've learned with the current job and use both the knowledge you gain as well as the experience to move forward in the career. CFA Society and local societies around the world regularly organizes webinars as well, and publishes articles for your continuous learning as well too. So another thing I am grateful for during my CFA journey is the networking opportunities again. So I've made a lot of connections, friends throughout the journey, which has helped me in my career development. So I guess in a nutshell, I would highly encourage you to pursue your CFA and your career. But please do put importance on the support and also encouragement of your family and friends as you go on this journey too.
Okay, thank you so much, Sofea. But what do you guys think? Does getting a CFA compensate for experience, right? Okay, which means you are a CFA holder, charter holder, right? Do you get a higher pay compared to someone who's more experienced, even though you are junior? Do you think so? Or no matter what, we need to have strike a balance.
Definitely a balance.
Right. Okay.
So it
So
has to
getting
go
a
hand in
CFA
hand.
alone can't get you that 100,000 pay a month, right? Okay. Oops. That's another bad news for all our CFA charter holder here. Okay. It won't bring you rich, but it just gives you a lot of knowledge, and in order to empower you to grow even further. So yeah, here's one thing. Having you have learned a lot of things because CFA is quite technical in nature, right? Okay, we learn a lot of analysis through historical data as well, right? So that's how we are trained. But do you think that the risk assessment process on a startup, right? Okay, having a CFA does help in terms of doing that, and how will it help you to avoid understanding the risk of when there is no sufficient historical data to go with, because CFA is all about relying on data, right? Okay, so in order to have a risk assessment on startup, for in your case, Sofea, assessment on startup when they raise funds, with the assessment on startup when they go to you, and for Chanchou, you also do angel investing as well. Okay, without sufficient historical data for startup, how do you assess, right? Okay, does the CFA part help you to do that? Okay, or this is mainly based on gut feeling or experience?
I think a lot of it goes to qualitative assessments and research. So things that we should look at the team running the company, their experience, their backgrounds. Are they working on it full time? We should also look at the tech aspects of the company, especially if they claim they built something from scratch. That has to be something we assess as well. I think it's also important to look at the market the company is in to see whether there's actually a need for it. How are their competitors doing? Things like that. It's also important to look at the traction and what they've achieved so far. So even with a limited historical data, it's important to see what they have done and what are some of the things that they are doing to propel them forward. So what's in their pipeline? And lastly, I think it's important to also know more about their exit strategy. What's next for them? So those are the few things that I think it's important. Besides, quantitative assessments is definitely important, but if it's not there, we have to see how we can judge these companies differently.
Right. Thank you, Sofea. Victor?
Sorry for interrupting. We are running out of time. So can we have a quick wrap up?
Sure. Okay.
Sorry.
No problem, Queenie. Right. So this is my last question for all our guests here. So what are the mistakes that you have done in the past and how have that impacted you? And what will be your advice to the audience today? Okay, let's start with Victor first.
Sure.
Yeah, Victor, we can't hear you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now I was just saying that we make a lot of mistakes along the journey, and definitely I've my share of of mistakes as well. But if I were to pinpoint one, I guess it's a good mistake in a way. I think anyone who wants to take a leap of faith, sometimes you gotta make sure that you have what it takes to make a leap of faith. If there's a way to make yourself, go through the change much more comfortably, then yes, so be it. I mean, the mistake I'm trying to point out is that my transition from my old VC, my old employer, to come out to start Venture Capital, the mistake was timing, because I came out right before the umbrella incidents in Hong Kong, and basically the whole capital markets were going crazy. So I came out right before that time. But of course, in hindsight, this is not a mistake that you can actually, predict. But I'm also thankful for this mistake because it has taught me how to hustle, just like Chinchou, Yeoh, and all those guys. And how do we actually work on a very lean environment, or in a very lean environment. So I think it's a good mistake in a way because I came out when I wasn't ready at all, but thanks to that, it made me a much better VC at this point of time.
Right. Okay. Chinchou.
Yeah. So I think that the adding on, I think what Victor mentioned, right? So I think the one thing, the way I look at it is control the controllable, and then I think the rest you can try to influence those things that are influenceable, but the rest is you can't really do anything, right? So I think focus on what you could at a time, and I think a lot of times also when we do go through decisions going through that, right? So I think a lot of time is also looking at what is the reversible decisions and what is irreversible, and most of the decision is actually reversible, right? And only very, very few things are irreversible. So a lot of time is just go on it and do it. So I think a lot of time looking back, maybe sometimes we spend too much time thinking about it, spend too much time pondering about it, right? But I think a lot of times just go and do it, and then go with your gut feelings and whatnot, right? So I think even let's say when we make decisions on things, we'll never have 100%, and a lot of times enjoy the ride and try it. So don't worry about it, and then we'll learn along it. Don't make the same.
Right. Okay. But what is the major mistake that you have made, Chinchou, that has affected you and it makes you who you are today?
Yeah, so so I think maybe thinking back in 2015 to 2016 when we first started KFIT, we launched too many countries, right? At that time, we got a bunch of fundings and then we were like, okay, let's go, right? So we launched Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines within 5 months, right? So we were overzealous and just go all out. And then many of those turned out failure, right? So they come back and then have back, right? So I think a lot of it is that kind of decisions that maybe we could a bit more better and see how do we prioritize, double down. So I think I would say that is one of the costly mistakes that we learn through. But I think a lot of them that help us to prevent bigger mistakes later on.
Right. Thank you so much. So don't go too crazy. Right. Okay. So how about you, Sofea? Right.
Okay, so for me, my mistake back then was I kept thinking the growth in my career should be very fast. If not, I will miss out. So I felt frustrated at times and compared myself with the success and achievements of others, constantly asking myself, am I doing enough? So fortunately, I realized this fairly quickly, that everyone has their own pace. We must acknowledge that there are countless factors that can influence our career path. So it can be unexpected opportunities, but also unforeseen situations, right? So there's this saying by Steve Jobs, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in the future. So my advice is Plan realistically on your short-term and long-term goals. However, don't settle for less. Aim high and live your life.
Thank you so much, Sofea. Okay, so I guess we wrap our section today. And before that, let's have our one-word closing from our guests. Right? Okay, how do you feel today? Let me just let me have my first closing. Okay, I feel complete. Right? Okay, I learned so much from three of you guys. Okay, I feel complete. Right, Sofea. Okay, how do you feel?
Grateful to be able to share today, and what a wonderful panel. Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Victor.
I wanted to say hungry, but I don't think that's that's the right one for this session. But I think essentially, well, young probably because I believe the audiences here are pretty young. Most of them are still starting out early right now. So I would encourage you to leverage the youth that you have, make mistakes early, make as many take as many risky decisions as possible. Obviously, I'm not asking you to jump off the cliff hoping that you can survive, but you want to take the leap of faith without thinking too much, because like what I think Sofia or Chinchou has mentioned, sometimes thinking too much would mean that you are just missing out on opportunities. So just do it or don't think too much. Thanks.
And last, Chanchas.
Yeah. So since
Okay, we can't hear you again. Okay, I guess, yeah,
can you hear me?
Chinchou?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was say excited. So I say excited. I think they're hearing what I think you all shared, right? Victor, Sofea, and I think like learning all those journey. I think a lot of it is just go. Life is short, so just be excited and go for it. Enjoy the ride. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Chinchou. Okay, so back to you, Queenie.
Okay. So thank you, Tham and panelists, for the very interesting discussion, the experience shares, and some advice to our young generations who are going to step into venture capital firms. So we'll now proceed to the last activity of the activity of day 2, Career Carnival. This is the long-awaited mentoring session. There will be a total of 9 mentors. Each table will be led by a seasoned professional in the industry. So this is your opportunity to pick their brains and ask them anything and everything about the asset management industry. As usual, participants, you'll be moved to the social lounge. For a better mentoring experience, we'll try to keep the group small. A mentor will only have 5 mentees in the table. Our team may consider to expand the table capacity should the need arise. Please watch out for our announcement in the alert tab and the chat box. One request we'd like to make everyone is, when we move to the social launch later, please wait for a few minutes for our mentor to be seated. The table currently has only 2 seats available. This is to ensure that the mentors will be able to settle down first. Once the mentors are seated, we'll notify you when our mentors are ready via the chat box and the alert tab. Lastly, I'd like to give everyone a gentle reminder. Don't forget that we still have a few days to go on. Stay tuned for our upcoming sessions. We'll be having EPF, CIMB, and Maybank for the employee engagement session. A forum of data science, the game changer of industry, followed by a mentoring session with our mentors with consulting experience tomorrow. See you tomorrow at 4 p.m. as our event will start at 4 p.m. sharp. So this mentoring session will end at 8 p.m. While you may continue to your conversation at the table, and please respect your mentors if they need to leave early. So we hope you have an insightful session. Thank you.